Professor Kaufman, it's my duty, according to the script, to ask you a question.
It's all before you.
That's a good thing to do. I'm certain.
It won't happen often.
One of the people on your side as a McCain supporter is the columnist for the New York Times, whose judgment I generally respect, and that is David Brooks. He writes that if you wanted Sarah Palin has many virtues, but if you wanted someone involved in constructive governance, that would not be one of them. David Brooks writes, she has not been engaged in national issues, does not have a repertoire of historic patterns, and like President Bush, she seems to compensate for her lack of experience with a certain Tina Fey brashness and excessive decisiveness. In her interview, for example, with Charles Gibson of ABC News, Sarah Palin could not describe the Bush Doctrine. And Bob, I wonder if she's read your book.
She has not.
Defense of Bush. Mrs. Palin has also stated that she views the war in Iraq as a task from God. In her discussions of foreign policy, she has expressed her willingness to go to war with Russia over the Republic of Georgia. My question, Bob, is this. Senator McCain has said that he would rather lose a political campaign than lose a war. And yet, in choosing Sarah Palin, didn't he demonstrate the opposite? That he would imperil his country rather than lose the presidency?
No, I reject several premises of your question. One, David Brooks is no longer on the conservative side of things, as we understand it. He's gotten New York Times-itis. I hope it doesn't happen to Bill Kristol, too, since he's writing for them. I doubt if Bill has more fortitude. Secondly, I think that Senator Obama has many of the shortcomings that you described about Governor Palin. If you look at Senator Obama's record, who's at the top of the ticket, he has no executive experience. He has no significant record in the United States Senate. He doesn't have a major piece of legislation to his name. Sarah Palin's executive experience makes her look like Dwight Eisenhower by comparison to Senator Obama. Look, she is the governor of a state, Alaska, that is a huge state. It is a state that is critical for energy when she talks about the geopolitics of oil. Not just from the standpoint of Alaska, but in general, she's more knowledgeable than all three other candidates combined, including McCain at the top of my ticket. So, two things, in essence, Doug. One, if you are concerned about Palin's lack of experience, that goes double for the Democratic head of the ticket, Obama, who has the least amount of experience of any major presidential candidate since the Second World War. And secondly, I think that Sarah Palin has a much more significant upside than you or David Brooks has depicted it.
In fact, Senator Obama has more of a record than you let on. It is a record that in fact includes significant numbers of legislative initiatives in the Illinois State Senate, to begin with, among other things, a responsible limitation on capital punishment or the death penalty to ensure its proper application with, in light of DNA evidence as well as in light of possible police abuse. In addition, Senator Obama has the advantages of having worked closely on the Foreign Affairs Committee with Senator Dick Lugar in a particularly bipartisan way, and on a topic that I think you would concede is of great importance, and that is the control of the nuclear stockpiles that rogue nations may well yet endanger us with. And Senator Obama has something else that I think virtually all commentators have acknowledged, and that he has generated in his trips abroad a great anticipation of unity and restoration of the integrity of the American standard in terms of international agreement. In part, this is by nature of Senator Obama himself, having had experience of both the white and the black world, if you would, of both the Western and the Asian world, of having the kind of diverse background that clearly was being responded to in the hundreds of thousands of people that turned out to hear him in Berlin and elsewhere on his trips this past summer. So I think you've understated Senator Obama's qualities, which, as you know in the lingo that you folks in political science use, there's both soft power and hard power, and Senator Obama has this capacity to project the renewal of the American ethos in a very effective way.
Doug, you made a very good case as to why Senator Obama would be a great Secretary General of the United Nations. or head of the EU, but is one of the examples of Obama's flinty realism, his commitment to negotiate with an Iranian president, Ahmadinejad, who has denied the Holocaust, has committed Iran to a Holocaust in the Middle East if he has his way, and whose ultimate goal, according to Ahmadinejad's own words, is to impose a 9th century caliphate on Anglo-American civilization. Is that not the definition of insanity, as Albert Einstein puts it, to negotiate with him, doing the same thing again and expecting different results?